Okay, today we're looking at the J3K from Honolulu Pickleball. If you've been watching my channel, you might have seen I predicted the J2K being the top or one of the top paddles of the year. And now the bigger YouTube reviewers have started checking that paddle out as well, and it looks like it could be a real contender to some other folks too. Well, now Honolulu is adding a standard shaped paddle to their Kevlar lineup with the J3K. And I'm pretty sure they're one of the first to do a standard shape with 100% Kevlar face. And these paddles really surprise me, and I think it could shake things up a bit. And we're going to talk all about that. But first, I wanted to let you know Honolulu is letting me give one of these away for free, so be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see how to enter. But you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to get a head start. But let's get into it. There are two styles of the J3K, the Pro version and the non-Pro version. And my favorite of the two is the Pro version, so I want to start with that one. Here at Specs. So the J3K Pro is a 60mm paddle. Its face is 100% aramid fiber DuPont Kevlar, and it comes in Honolulu's tighter power weave. The shape is called an Aero Square, so it's a standard shaped paddle. It's thermoform unibody with perimeter edge foam. Its core is polypropylene, and the dimensions are 16 by 8 inches. The grip length is 6 inches, and the grip circumference is 4.125 inches. The average weight is 7.9 to 8.3 ounces. The advertised swing weight is 110 to 116. The advertised twist weight is 7.15 to 7.25. And then it does include one of Honolulu's nice waterproof cases. And then it has a 6-month warranty, and the price is $145 after you use promo code MatthewKevlar to knock off $20. Okay, for a standard shaped paddle, the J3K Pro is packing a lot of power. That's actually the real standout feature of both versions. In fact, Honolulu seems to be putting quite a bit of weight into their Kevlar lineup compared to their carbon fiber ones, so all their Kevlar paddles come ready to bang. And to me, the J3K Pro reminded me a lot of the Volair Mach 2 Forza 14mm once you add a little weight down here at the throat, which I also do with the Forza 14mm. Both the J3K Pro and Forza 14mm have a ton of pop that you can really weaponize at the kitchen, but it's still very manageable for me once I add that weight. And what's nice about the J3K Pro in particular compared to the Forza 14mm is you get all that pop while holding on to the feel of a 60mm core. And compared to a lot of the other standard and wide body paddles out right now, the J3K Pro really does have a ton of power. It's got more weight up here in the head as a result of Honolulu making these a bit beefier than a lot of the competition, so the J3K Pro can really swing and really bang from the baseline. Your serves and baseline hits are going to pack a wallop with this thing. And for the soft game up at the kitchen, you'll probably need to have some finesse, and once again, I did have to add that weight at the throat to keep my hits from popping up too much, but putaways and all that are a breeze. And while it is heavier, I didn't have any issues being quick and having fast hands. That standard shape really cuts through the air for me. Finally, I was testing out a prototype, and the thing that really seems to change for Honolulu's paddles between the prototypes and the versions that go out to customers is that the spin and grab in the surface just continues to improve as they iterate. That being said, for me, these were the best spin and grab of any of the Honolulu prototypes I've tested, so I'm sure the versions going out to customers will only be grittier. I'll pin a comment or do a follow-up video once I play with the final versions, but I'm betting they'll only be better in that department. So who's this paddle for? Well, I think it's for anyone that's been eyeing a standard shape or a wide body paddle like the Mach 2 Forza or the Spartus Apollo, but didn't want to sacrifice power by going for that wider shape. Honolulu is really compensating for that with the additional weight, so the J3K Pro is a really great option. But if you want something even more powerful, you might actually want to look at the non-Pro version of the J3K, and I'll tell you why. But first, let's throw up the specs, which are very similar to the J3K Pro, except the non-Pro version is a bit heavier, coming in at around 7.9 to 8.4 ounces, and it has a higher advertised swing weight range at 113 to 118, as well as a little bit higher twist weight range at 7.2 to 7.35, meaning it's got an even bigger sweet spot than the Pro version. Also, this one's $10 cheaper after you use promo code MatthewKevlar to knock off $20, making this thing only 135 bucks. So for me, this paddle is super similar to the Pro, except it might have slightly less pop because its Kevlar has that control weave as opposed to Honolulu's tighter power weave seen in the Pro version. However, if it does have less pop, it's not by a whole lot. The difference between the J3K and the J3K Pros Pop aren't nearly as big as you see between the 14 and 16mm Mach 2 Forza, for example. The biggest difference between the Pro and non-Pro is that the non-Pro version comes a bit heavier, so there isn't as much room to customize with lead or tungsten compared to the Pro model. And out of the box, this standard shape paddle is an even bigger banger than its Pro counterpart, in part because of that extra heft and weight. That increased swing weight really helps you shoot missiles from the baseline, and that bigger sweet spot compared to the Pro also helps you get some extra punch on the ball as well. And for me, this paddle's pop is just a little too much for me to handle easily, just like the Pro. So I did try a very similar tungsten setup as I did with the Pro, and it did help nudge up the control to the level I prefer. However, I had an issue. For me, I build up all my grips to 4.5 inches in circumference, and then I add tape under my overgrips as well to highlight the handle's notches. I do this with all my paddles, but all of that adds weight. Also, Honolulu's paddles grips are just a little smaller than a lot of other companies when it comes to circumference, so I have to add even more stuff to build my grip up to what I like. And since the J3K Non-Pro is a bit heavy already, when I added tungsten to the throat after my grip setup, the paddle was just a little too heavy for my liking. And that's the main reason I prefer the lighter Pro model. I was able to customize it the way I like without making it too heavy. However, that probably won't be an issue for most people that have a simpler grip setup than what I do. So who's the non-Pro version for? I'd say it's for a banger that doesn't mind a heavier paddle, that wants to start playing with a standard shape to be a bit faster at the kitchen than they are with an elongated. So a player that likes to play fast and play hard, that doesn't need as much control in their short game. And if you're a player like me that likes to slow things down, do resets and drops, I'd recommend looking at the J3K Pro or the carbon fiber version of the J3, which I've already reviewed and is a control monster that still packs a lot of power. You could also consider the J2K, which is a great all-court paddle that leans towards power and is probably still my favorite paddle of the year. So all in all, I think Honolulu has really shaken things up and challenged what a standard shape paddle can be. These are not control-oriented paddles. Both versions of the J3K are for aggressive players that know how to handle power, that want to take advantage of the smaller profile to be faster cutting through the air at the kitchen. It's a new evolution of what a standard shape paddle can be, and they are definitely not packing a standard level of power for this typically control-oriented shape. These things are cannons. As for the giveaway, all you need to do is like this video, subscribe, comment which version you want and why, and then fill out the Google form in the description so I have a way to contact you if you win. That's it. If you go ahead and buy one and then win the raffle, Honolulu will reimburse you, so don't be afraid to get in on that pre-order, since the raffle won't be for about another month. Good luck, and I'll be sure to leave a link in the description for Honolulu's site. Don't forget to use promo code MatthewKevlar for that $20 discount. I'll also leave some links and codes for some other cool paddles and paddle companies. Be sure to check those out. Using those does help me and helps the channel, so it's always appreciated. And please like and subscribe. That helps me a lot too. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon, and just don't forget, it's about having fun.